As far as undersized blocking, if you think of the McNamara sisters who played at UCLA and now they're playing for Canada and FIVB.
And doing really well.
They are doing really well. But have you noticed now that Nicole will soft block?
Oh, so like a little step off.
Yep. She'll stay up and soft block just to bring it back and keep it alive. Mm-hmm. And I have several videos, because I've been watching them intently lately, on it working perfectly every time. Because they're like, oh, she's going to stay up. Some giant girl, she's like, watch this. And it's like, bang, bang, still in play, So it's interesting, but definitely, I mean, how many blockers are there, not only in wherever you live, but at your level, right? In your area, there's just not that many, right? So agreeably, you've got to be like, hey, I'm going to split, or we're just going to be like cutting off angles, like you said, and just digging machines. You got to figure it out.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Better at Beach Volleyball podcast. My name is Mark Burik, and you are here trying to get better at beach volleyball, whether it's playing, coaching, recruiting, starting a club, or something else within the volleyball world. And today we have a really awesome guest. Nicole Christner has been involved in volleyball in pretty much every facet of the game, from playing to coaching to recruiting to athletic cookery or chefery, however, culinary skills, we'll put it that way. And she also runs camps and clinics, so she knows a lot from the playing side, a lot from the coaching side, and a lot from the business side, which is really cool. So I'm super interested in having this conversation. Just so you guys know, right now, we still have our beach volleyball camps, our 7-day training camps. They are still on sale. They're still open. More than 2/3 of the spots are sold out for all of the fall and winter. So if you want to come and spend 7 or more beautiful sunny days in St. Pete Beach, Florida, with our pro coaching staff and a ton of other awesome, enthused volleyball players who want to get better, then head on over to betteratbeach.com/camps. If you can't see us in person, that's totally fine, because right now we are attacking defense in our complete player program. All of our players and our online coaches right now are going through the Ultimate Defender program, which takes you from the very basics of defense all the way up to elite strategies. And we meet online every week. Our players post their videos of the drill homework that we give them. And then our team of coaches goes in and critiques them and helps them get to the next level. So it is a course, and it is coaching, and it is tutorials, and it is at home homework. So if you're looking to get your defense to the next level, jump into the Ultimate Defender, betteratbeach.com/Ultimate Defender. Without further ado, we are going to welcome our fantastic guest and have a really cool conversation with Nicole Christner. What's up, Nicole?
How's it going, Mark? How are you?
It's great. Life is good. Just finished practice out here, played against Kyle Friend and Tim Brewster, and got a cool little treat. Kyle Friend is roommates with April Ross. They're buddies. So she came out and she led the practice and helped them out. So it was cool to see her out on the sand. And I think she's actually going to be in a coaching role for AVP Manhattan Beach, coaching our buddy, Kyle Friend, and his partner, Tim Brewster.
You're kidding. I love that. I love Kyle and Tim as a team. I got to actually see Tim for the first time play when I was coaching one of my juniors in the women's Big Texas Tour, or Big Money Tour for AVP. Tim was playing with Andy Benesh, and that was the first time I saw him. And that was the week after he had just won with Phil. And so the announcer was like, and Phil went from playing with a 6'9" partner, Andy did, to a 6-foot partner, or under 6 foot. Is Tim 6 foot?
It's always so difficult to measure people's heights on the sand. Like as soon as you stand next to them on flat ground, when everybody has shoes on, then you're like, oh my God, you really are that tall. Like I'll look across the net and see blockers who are like 6'8", and I'll be like, they're not that big. And then you stand next to them in the bar and you're like, all right, okay, you're kind of huge.
Well, it is funny just to see, because you saw Tim, like I saw Tim next to Andy the whole time, and I was like, oh my God. Although I will say Tim's arms are probably 6 feet long. He is.
Oh man, he's got long arms, and his wrist is just so good. He uses the outside part of the court. It's really nice.
Oh, yeah. He's so good. Yeah, he's got a really beautiful straight swing, and he can wrist away really, really well with power. Like he doesn't lose any of his power with it. He's amazing. I really love watching him. And he's a lefty. I'm a lefty. Big fan of lefties.
Nice. Do you think lefties have an actual advantage? I mean, people talk about like, oh, it's a different look. You don't really know how to block them. I've never thought that.
I
I
think
don't
that
know.
it depends on who you're playing. Like for me, I don't know, when I think about guys, she can create angles and make you like not see things that she's doing. So for me, I think so. When I think about John Mayer, I mean, it was hard to beat him. It was hard to read him,
You know,
right?
John kind of almost reminds me of Tim's game a little bit.
That's
John
true.
could put some like flat pace on the ball and really, really intelligent as a player, but Tim's so young right now that it's
Yeah.
like, of course, that intelligence is going to come along so long as he keeps listening and getting coaching and everything like that. But yeah, really kind of similar. If Tim could develop a pretty decent jump serve, then they'd be like pretty much the same game.
I agree. I really love watching him defensively. I'm just a big Tim fan right now, just because he's new on the scene, at least for me. So I'm just all kind of jacked up about him, especially because he's a lefty too. Also, I guarantee you, like his arm length his wingspan's got to be 6'3". I mean, his arms are definitely longer than
Oh
his
yeah.
height, right?
They're hitting his kneecaps. I mean, for
Yeah.
sure.
And you can tell when he's like swinging away, you can't, like, his arm looks like as long as his body. It's
Yeah.
awesome. So I do think there are those lefties. I think there are, I call them right-handed lefties. So the lefties that can't sell or create really crazy angles, but there are those few that are really, really good at just deception, a deception that a right-handed person, I think, has a hard time creating.
It's interesting today was seeing like we're friends and buddies with Kyle, and Tim's like now becoming like a friend of ours because we're practicing against him so much. So they are our competition, but I'm also giving them feedback. Like I want my friends to succeed. And they were doing one set where it's a transition set coming from the back corner and Kyle was on the left side. And Tim pushed it to the outside, and I saw Kyle have to slow down and lean back. And it's funny because players get so nice to each other. Teammates become so nice. So we accept good things or okay things because we're afraid of, I think, like hurting each other's feelings or putting too much pressure on them. And when Tim asked Kyle, like, hey, was that good? And Kyle was like, oh, yeah, that was great. And I shook my head and Tim looked at me, and then we fed him another one. And it was like kind of the same set where Kyle had to lean back. He couldn't accelerate into the court. So Tim didn't find the space between them. He found like Kyle's right arm. And, immediately after the second one, like April comes over and she goes, you guys should really cut that distance and make Kyle come and get it. And like, I gave a little wink over to Tim, and I was like, it was nice to be like validated by April, but it's funny that dynamic, and me and Brandon are going through it right now where it's like, how much of an argument, how much do we want to piss each other off by giving this tough feedback? And that communication skill, if you don't have it or you're bad at it or you feel like you have to hold back too much, that's the time to go and get a coach and make sure. Like Tim and Kyle really communicated well. Like they talk a lot, but then April had to come in and say like, no, like you don't have to be that nice. And that set's missing. So that third eye, when you have a coach out there, it's so invaluable. Yeah.
It's the marriage counselor though, a lot of times. Do you know what I mean? Like I coach juniors mostly, and on a juniors level, and female juniors, they're way more emotional, right, than guys would be. Right. So oftentimes I am being a marriage counselor, but just trying to, I think it's so important when you have a partnership, whether it's juniors or adults or males or females, finding out how to speak to each other. That creates better ball, but also, you can check your ego at the door so that you don't get your feelings hurt so bad. Because let's face it, we're out here and we're working hard, like you two are. You and Brenna are working hard at trying to make sure your game is as efficient as possible. And it's not going to be efficient if you can't just say those things, right? No, I need you to make me go after this ball harder rather than trying to feed it to me because it's going past me. Right. It's a delicate line. And I know that when I was still able to play, my old partner and we would really get into it really bad. So definitely having that coach, and especially if that coach is Zipper Ross, I think that helps a lot of things for sure.
Yeah. It's good to have that little backup. It was funny. So I kept setting Brandon's right arm, like everything that we teach is always like to leave the ball on the right arm. But we've found out, and it took a lot of trial and error, but we found out that he likes more like Casey Jennings. I don't know if you remember seeing Casey Jennings play.
Funny, I'm 52. I remember Casey Jennings better than you do.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, he never cussed you out across the court in the middle of a warm-up practice.
Well, thank goodness for that. I'm glad I don't own that well.
He was funny. He was very much like, if you saw that Michael Jordan documentary where he needed something to set him off and to like make him go. Casey Jennings is one of those guys. He would like find something that he could construe as an attack on him, and he would take that and it would fire him up during a match, during a practice, and he would come at you. And like the Wolverine was a great name for him.
Really?
Yeah, he would let you have it, and it was great. It set, if you handled it well enough, it could set your practice on fire. And if you didn't, he would win that practice. Like if you back down from that, then he would kind of take that emotional control and make you a little bit timid. So
having the emotional control at practice or at a game, it's everything, right?
Yep.
Girls, it happens all the time. We got off focus for a second. I want to hear what you're doing with Brandon, because you said you're pushing it more towards his left.
Yeah. So now, like Casey Jennings, when he was playing on the right side, he wanted to kick out as a right side, which is unnatural. Most right sides will move towards their setter and approach in a straight line. Casey was different. He would kick out towards the sideline and ask for an inside set so that he's diving in to his left arm. But he had a really nasty wrist away. So yeah, he could hit that ball down the right side of the court pretty hard. And Brandon's like, why are you pushing this? Why are you pushing this? You're pushing it. And I was just like, finding exactly where I want to set. Like, I'm lining up your right arm. I don't understand. And so then yesterday we practiced with Travis Mayweather, and I was like, oh, I forgot, you're a lefty. I got to set you inside. And Brandon goes, why don't you just think about me like that? And I was like, is that what you want? You want me to set your left shoulder? And he's like, yes. I'm just like, all right, let's change this. And then today we went and side out completely changes, so it's like the level of and he wants that ball on his left shoulder so that he could come in. He squares his hips off, he's not approaching a straight line, creates that angle, and he really threatens that sharp angle. And then he has a really nice flick to the high line, and he gets his feet to the ball so he stays high. Usually you don't set the left arm because people can't stay as high and because you can't really threaten that wrist away, but not enough people run a natural 2-block like to really commit fully on that. And if that's what makes him feel best and he's not jamming himself, like he's getting himself there, then fine.
I mean, my big concern is taking away that hard hit back to the line, because you're setting the inside shoulder. He's either going to have to swing across his body, right? Or he's going to have to really pull it around and then therefore lose power. So that would be, as a coach, would be my thing, that I'm like, I want you to be able to bang that right line, but if he's, I know he's got really good court vision. And I mean, if he's got that high tap, awesome.
And there's two solutions to that, right? When you dive in, and you can either hit that hard line if that defender's really sitting there and you need to overpower them, or you just go over cross. Most people don't realize that you have that other option. And if your vision is there and you can carry it there and you could stay high, then just because somebody runs a 4 or a 2 on you doesn't mean you have to bang line. You still have that over cross option. And well, I'm not going to give away too much of our offense, but that's like there are other answers aside from needing to hit hard down that line. And
the other problem though that exists is most people don't have vision, because most people don't contact the ball in front of them. They contact it on top of them, and therefore losing their vision and only seeing the sky, which is, I mean, on a pro level, different, hopefully. But on any other level besides pro, people really love to contact that ball on top of them, and all they can see is the sky and they have no vision.
Of course.
Because they're early. Our favorite thing as coaches, right?
The early conversation is something, it was crazy. I gave Casey Patterson, had him on the podcast before it was a podcast. And we showed a video clip of him getting a dig after coming back from 3 points down, getting a dig when he had 15-14 to win Manhattan Beach. And I was like, you just got a dig. It's 15-14. You got the dig that you needed. And I paused the screen. I said, what's going through your mind right now? And he was like, wait. It's so funny that for Manhattan Beach Championship Open, like an Olympian is still telling himself, wait, don't be early. Like in the middle of a match, in the middle of it, you kind of think, oh, maybe he'll be in flow state. And he's just, he's not even thinking. No, he's still like coaching himself to not be early.
That is amazing. And it's funny because if you watch, I watch a lot of film on Casey. And in fact, for my coaching, when I teach everybody, I have videos of all pros, right, doing different parts of the game. So I have different files that are just hitting or defense or whatever. And Casey's all over my hitting one, because I love his approach to the ball, the length away, and his really long approach, and his very slow to fast approach, and that super snappy elbow to wrist that he's got is so awesome. But it is funny for me to hear you say that, because to me, he's just like, oh, I got to dig. I'm just going to stand here and walk in and then float on my step close and then the ball's gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that is really funny and a little sad, because all the people I've been coaching all these years that are now in college and playing D1 and stuff, that I'm wondering if they're ever going to be on time then, meaning with Patterson's like that.
Like the point to where you can finally automate it. It's so strange that you have to hold yourself back all the time. You know, you can't attach yourself to that setter rhythm too much unless you're running a tempo flow and everything. But
Exactly.
we can get that at another time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to hear about your trip into coaching and how that started, because you were playing, you played for a long time, and then did you start coaching at the same time? Did you develop into a coach, and what was the beginning like?
And I was put into a family when I was in 6th grade, and my 6th grade teacher, Mike Lindstrom, we called him Mr. L, got me into volleyball. He was my first coach. He was my 6th grade teacher, and he made his entire class start touching balls when they were in 6th grade, which turned out to be amazing. So he ended up being my indoor coach for 7th grade all the way through 12th grade. And we went to indoor junior Olympics. We played beach tournaments. I'm from Michigan, so we played them in the 2 days that you were able to play on the beach in Michigan.
You played juniors beach volleyball in Michigan in
the
90s?
It was the 80s, year of the 90s. I was the 80s, sadly. Yeah, up in Hamtramck, near Traverse City. I can't remember the name of it, but they had tournaments. I don't remember if they were juniors tournaments, as that was a long, long time ago, 30 years ago. But yeah, we used to go play beach tournaments with him there. And then every year for indoor, we would go play Junior Olympics in Chicago. That's where the indoor was back then. And anyway, so this man, I came from being in juvie. Like I wasn't a bad kid. It was my family, but I was put into the system, and this man literally changed everything. I didn't think I was worth anything. I was this kid that lived down the streets in Michigan. And then all of a sudden here I am, and he's my teacher and my volleyball coach. And he actually saw me, and he actually cared that I was alive, and he was everything. He was everything to me. And so I went and played D1 in college. I got a full ride to Winthrop in South Carolina. And then of course I was gone. He's a 6th grade teacher in Michigan. So, but I always thought about him. And when I was in my 20s, I started coaching, just doing volunteer coaching for girls at like the YMCA and stuff like that. And so I was doing some coaching then, and I kept coaching indoor until probably 30 years old, 31 years old. And then I couldn't do it anymore because I was playing beach. So I started playing beach when I was probably 28. And then I really started going and playing open level tournaments all over the place. Around then I played in Italy. That was probably the funnest tournament I've ever played in.
Bibbione?
Bibbione, yes.
We have a goal, like our big group of friends out here in Hermosa has a big goal to make the Bibbione trip next year. It's supposed to be the biggest. It's the biggest. Okay, so for those people who don't know, I've never been there. You just see pictures. It's Bibbione, Italy, and it's the largest beach volleyball tournament in the world, I'm pretty sure. But now from your experience, what's Bibbione like?
Oh my gosh, I wish I could play videos for you on here. So you go there, and God only knows how warm or cold it is. When I went there that year, I don't remember what year it was, but it was not warm. Let's just say that. But I got there on Thursday, and they have a warm-up party on Friday for the players. So all the players don't even arrive until Saturday. But the Friday party, it was just, try to imagine like, I don't know, like Woodstock. Like my pictures, they have a spritz party. Spritz is the national drink of Italy, right? And normally spritz you have in a glass. Well, they made it in kegs. Okay. So it's this like 500 kegs of spritz. Okay. There's people as far as the eye can see. So I'm sitting there getting my drink at my pitcher of spritz. And then I turn around with my camera, and it's like just a sea of people. So that night, it was a Friday. I think they said there were 8,000 players there. Oh. And then by the next day, there were 10,200 or something, beach only. It was awesome. We taught them on Saturday after we played how to play flip cup, because there was a rain out. So we had literally 3 50-person tables how to play flip cup. It was awesome. So anyway, what you could have broken
it into 5 teams or something.
That would have been for sure. It was hard because there were so many people, so many different languages that were being spoken there. And so that's what you have to do before you go to Bibbione. You have to learn how to call the score in Italian, or you're in trouble. Okay. Every single time, just like here, right? You've got to call the score. So you have to know all of your numbers, and Pele, I think it's Pele, and then you call the score. Anyway, it is nice. Yeah, you definitely have to get there For sure.
It's such a bucket list. There's a few big bucket list ones, and that's one. I mean, other bucket lists that people should put on their list is for sure the Rosarito tournament. It used to be the Estero tournament south of San Diego. It's a blind draw.
Oh no!
Which means that you sign up, and well, the organizers do a pretty good job because they work hard on looking through the CBVA statistics where everybody's level is at. They won't put a pro level player with a true beginner. They'll put them with like an A or double A, something that's reasonable. And then they'll put, two A players together, an A and a double A. They'll try to mix it up and match it. But it's down in Mexico. They've now partnered with a hotel. They didn't used to. It used to be on a campground. It's so much fun. A lot of people drive down, through Tijuana, and then you get to, used to be Estero, now it's Rosarito, but that should be on everybody's bucket list. That was my first California volleyball experience in terms of the lifestyle of people who just play volleyball because it's fun and partyish. I didn't realize that, for me, it was beach volleyball was a way to get better at indoor. And I just kind of fell in love with it equally. But then when I saw people just loving the sport and partying while they played, that was eye-opening, I guess. It didn't addict me to the culture, but it made you realize that this is a lifestyle sport. You can be here and create a great social group of great friends and bond with people through the sport.
That's awesome. I've never heard of that one. That's crazy. Have you gone to Dinosaur yet? I know you're not really, you'd have to have a Dinosaur partner.
I was 3/4 of the way there this year, and I broke my foot while hiking in Oahu. So I took the trip to Oahu to visit my brother, and I was 3 days away from playing the dyno. Fell out of a tree onto a rock, broke my foot, and that pretty much crashed this whole season.
What are you, a cartoon? You fell out of a tree onto a rock.
Yeah, you're hiking, there's a very climbable tree, and it was, but just one of the branches just couldn't handle the full force of my personality, so it broke. And I fell quite a ways. I was able to walk and jog out of there, but then once I was sitting on the couch, you just feel it, and you're like, this is a little too much. This is more than a dinger. Yeah.
Oh no, who are you supposed to play with?
Joe Lambert. He's a good friend of mine who kind of brought me out to Salt Lake City in Utah and helped me organize clinics and get a bunch of private lessons. And then during COVID, Utah wasn't really shut down. California was. So I essentially moved to Utah for 8 months, started up a really nice program there, and really thankful for him. And we became just best friends. So
not awesome that you broke your foot and couldn't play at night, though.
He was not happy, but he got to play with Jeff Samuels, who's an actual blocker. So
Jeff Samuels is he's not very tall. I know he can jump like Troy, but
yeah, he's a 6'1" blocker.
Okay. But he really should be a defender, right?
Not all short people should be defenders. Not all tall people should be blockers,
I agree, but it depends on how high this is a conversation I have with volley dorks all the time.
Yeah.
How tall you have to be depending on how far you're trying to go in this volleyball career, right?
And then when you're choosing partners, people need to stop thinking about, I need a blocker, because if your pool of blockers isn't huge, then you need to just find the best volleyball player. Because you'll be in a way better situation if you get somebody who can scramble, dig on the move, and you're siding out and you're setting perfectly. All right, so you need to come up with one more magical defensive stop. High lines are going to be easy. Okay, we get that, but figure out a way to mitigate that with tough serving. I just think people get obsessed with positionals, right sides, left sides, blocker, defender, instead of saying, if I served somebody and had them set 10 balls, who would pass 10 better than anybody else? Right. That's what you should be thinking.
I think that when I try to talk to people about that these days, I always talk about the Lindquist sisters. But, sadly, I actually, if you don't know the Lindquist sisters, they were both 5'6", I think, right?
Around there. Yeah.
They only played together, and they always got 9th or better. After a while, they got 5th or better. And every AVP back in the day, they were playing against Diane Denekashe, who's 6'4". They were playing against Jenny Johnson Jordan. They were playing against the best of the best. I mean, Holly was still playing back then. That was a while ago, right? And they did not care. Did not matter who was hitting against them. They were going to dig it, and they were going to side out. It was so crazy to watch. But now, sadly, they don't have any video. I actually emailed them asking for video because I want to show it to my juniors and be like, look, you don't even really have to be a split team. You can be a littles team, and you can create some real chaos and panic, no matter how big the other team is, right? And anyway, they don't have any video to share, which makes me sad. To just believe But if you ever watched one match with them, you'd be like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Right?
I bet that the guy in San Diego who always recorded the Southern California matches, like the CBVAs, I bet he's still got something on his channel. I'm trying to remember the name of his channel because he was the one who was making professional volleyball viewable for like 10 years before anybody was ever thinking about YouTube channels or how to like promote the sport. He would just show up at a tournament, find his favorite match, set the camera up, and then put it on YouTube.
Oh man.
I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of the YouTube channel right now, but
right. If you think of him, you'll have to let me know because I would really love to have it. I mean, everybody should be able to watch one match with them against anybody. It didn't matter. So
and I think the peeling, let's talk about peeling on everything under men's open.
Okay.
Right? Because I think men's open peeling's gonna get you in trouble. Men's pro, men's open, that's gonna get you in trouble. Women's pro, women's open should be peeling significantly more than males. And that's, I mean, it's completely evident when you watch pro AVP, pro FIVB. There's so much peeling. It's the point where it's not even is the hitter in trouble, but blocker looks at it. Can I touch it? No, I'm peeling.
Yep.
You know, so as soon as it's out of their reach, they're peeling. And when you see the Brazilians play, they'll step up heavy into that pocket and just leave their hands right by their face at half court and say, you're going to have to jumbo me to beat me. You know,
they cut off that angle and they're so good with their peel defense. But I mean, that's a really, really hard part of the game to really master. And you have to just rep that thousands upon thousands of times to be able, like, look at Alex Kleinman when she started playing with April, right? When I
reference her all the time for peel digging. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, her peel digging was not good. No offense to her. That's a really hard thing to master, but it was not good. If you watch them in Rome, like 3 years ago, it was, that's really what killed them besides serve receive a little bit. But anyway, so then just watching how good, because at that point, I mean, we were 2 years away from the Olympics and April was playing with her. And I was like, oh my God, what is this going to look like? Right. And then watching how good she got at it and how she's just sick now. Like she got to a play. I had to tell everyone I was wrong. Like, I'm wrong. She's really freaking good before the Olympics, right? Leading up to the Olympics. And it was her peel defense and her serve receive. And that was everything that she needed to fix. And she fixed it. But how many hours and how many days and how many reps did she do to get that peel defense down? I mean, it's really, really hard. You know, as far as undersized blocking, if you think of the McNamara sisters who played at UCLA and now they're playing for Canada and FIVB.
And doing really well.
They are doing really well. But have you noticed now that Nicole will soft block?
Oh, so like a little step off.
Yep. She'll stay up and soft block just to bring it back and keep it alive. And I have several videos because I've been watching them intently lately on it working perfectly every time. Because they're like, oh, she's going to stay up. Some giant girl. She's like, watch this. And it's like, bang, bang, still in play, you know? So it's interesting, but definitely, I mean, how many blockers are there, not only in wherever you live, but at your level, right? In your area, there's just not that many, right? So agreeably, you've got to be like, hey, I'm going to split, or we're just going to be like cutting off angles, like you said, and just digging machines. You got to figure it out.
I'll throw some random number out there, and this is not based on statistics, but if you're not getting 2 blocks a set and you're not touching at least 6 balls a set, I mean, it should probably be higher. If you're not touching that, you need to completely reassess the idea that you should be anywhere near the net, because people think like blocks count. If you get 2 blocks a game, but you don't touch the rest of the balls, you have not done your job. You need to be affecting the play. You know, if you touch 10 balls, but you get no blocks, honestly, you're doing a better job than somebody who gets 2 blocks and no touches for points, because you're actually having an effect on the game. You're allowing your defender to be a little more stable, like, okay, she can reach a high line, or she can read it and then wait and do a high block and reaching up instead of trying to penetrate.
Right. I mean, I think, again, as usual, it all depends on the level that you're playing, of course, but blocking, you know, there's technical blocking, which is what pros do. And then there's taking away space blocking, which is what every, double B, A, triple A, wherever you are is probably doing, right?
Right.
Are you at your level taking away the part of the court that you're telling your partner you're going to take away, right? If you are, depending on your level, then maybe you are doing it okay, in my opinion,
Yeah.
right? Because then your defender can feel safe that A, they can't hit power to the part of the court that you've called. And if that's true, and you are a fast defender and you can run down that high line when they're blocking line, right? They should have taken away everything else that should be a problem for you, as long as they can turn and get on a waterfall shot over them, right? So in my opinion, and all us coaches, I love talking to different coaches because we all have such different perspectives on things, right?
You think so? I don't know. I find more and more that like the top coaches are really similar.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean,
I think
there's a couple of different like minor tiny points of the game, but everyone that I've talked to is, at least on this podcast and when I go out and practice, the ideas are all like, yeah, you just have to do this. Like these are the basics.
I think that it's like, I coach more non-pro, like super high level. I've coached 2 teams to national championships. So I coach elite level too. And I also do only D1 commit camps too. So I do work with high level, but I also work with the beginners. I work with intermediates, whatever. And for me, on the baseline level of adults that are playing to be good and play in tournaments and play in double B or A or double A or whatever that is around the place, it is more like there's a difference. I think we'll agree on this. There's a difference between that level blocking and technical blocking, right? I mean, nobody that's not an open level player, and usually even open level women, aren't really technical blocking, independent arm blocking.
Right.
Whereas, right, they're taking up space blocking, right?
Yeah.
And again, if you're effective on that and you're reading the person and how they're coming in and if you should late block or, whatever you should, those decisions you should be making, I think that as long as you're effectively taking away that part of the court and your defender is an able-bodied human who can move quickly, right? As long as you're sitting in the pocket where that's the only place they can swing and it's the only place that you don't have time to react to that ball, you can run everything else down, right? That isn't a beautifully like super pacey, top spinning, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, on your podcast, I think you have all sorts of different levels, right? So it is definitely kind of in blocking more than anything, right? Like,
well, I don't think anybody underneath, definitely not like it, men double A and women double A for sure, peel 80% of the time.
Probably.
At least you have to be there. And then, I mean, you're talking about hard driven balls in terms of blocking, but if you're only making somebody hit 4-6 inches higher than the level of the tape, you're not even doing your job, because that high line becomes way too
open.
easy.
Yeah.
That's why I think in talking about top level men's blockers, you have to make them reach high so that your defender can have some sort of chance at a high line.
Agree.
Jeff Alzina was always talking about that. He was always like, I was like, like this guy's hitting flat high line. Should I run a 4? Should I do this? He goes, no, you should get a bigger blocker that can touch a high line. I was just like, all right, well, that's not a solution right now.
Even with my high level girls who are still in high school, like I've got a couple that are 6'1", 6'2", just working on that one-handed swat for those high lines. Being able to stay up there and swat is everything. But again, like that's super, not a lot of people are doing that. Right.
And
super
you shouldn't have to until that open level.
Exactly.
Other than that, like learn how to dig a ball with your hands. The pepperers out there, I'm talking to you. If you are the person who gets all pissy when you're peppering and your partner hits at your face and you look at them with open hands, you say, oh, come on. You have to learn how to hands dig. And if your pepper only involves hitting at each other's forearms, you need to grow up. And you need to learn how to play defense, like react to something that comes at your face. Because I mean, for sure, the offense isn't going to do that. And then you say, oh, well, you're ruining like my rhythm of warming up. Listen, if you're not ready to play volleyball, you're not ready to play volleyball. Like hit at my face, hit over my head, make me
hit
run.
Everywhere. Hit everywhere around me that my arm can reach. Please. Right? I absolutely agree.
Unless we're doing like circle bump at your local barbecue, like then whatever. All right, like, don't challenge me because I got a beer in one hand. I don't want to spill it.
That's funny. Back in the day, back in the 80s, we didn't have really overhead digging at all. And so it was really hard for me to learn that when I got in my 20s, like to just start open hand digging, because back in the 80s, it didn't exist really.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I'm always like, when women learn to hands dig, I think that process actually has to come way later. At least not the tomahawk style digging, but like the finger digging, because there aren't enough power athletes on that game that are hitting so hard on a consistent basis at the A and AA level. Like there's a bunch of whatever ex-baseball and football players that'll jump above the net and can still mash a ball and hit me in the face, right? They can't do it 9 out of 10 times accurately. But even at the A level, that guy, I'm going to have to need my fingers to dig because they can put that pace on the ball. But you don't really see that much pace until that high AA open level in women. And then that's when they finally have to learn it. So when you train juniors, are you working a lot on finger digging, or is it more kind of pop and hands and knuckles?
No, I'm telling you, I have to work on hand digging because now I'm telling you, I don't know the last time. I don't know. Have you gone and watched any of the junior nationals that were just there in July?
I don't like going there because my confidence immediately degrades 10 points. I'm like, they're so good. I can't wait to retire.
Now, I'm telling you, 16U girls can hit the ball so hard, like bounce the ball. I'm not kidding, bouncing the ball. Okay. Like like UCLA's, they got Sally Perez this year. She's from North Carolina, 6'2". She bounces the ball. She can bounce it like over stands. Okay. So you have to, at this level now in juniors, girls, you have to hand dig. Like that's where we're at 16U. Do you know at 10U in Hermosa, 10U, I was watching them jump toppy serve and in system 3 touches, 10 years old, 9 and 10.
That's great. That's what it should be. And
they're literally up to my hips. It's unbelievable.
It's funny when you start comparing that, because I played a very little bit on the East Coast, and you start thinking of like the California kids. Are you comparing yourself to those people around you?
Yeah.
And I always kind of knew like the players that I'm playing with in New York are probably trash compared to the players that exist in California that I haven't met yet. And it's 100% true. So if you're kind of like, if you're above average on the East Coast, Northeast, like Midwest, you're not good enough nationally. You need to be the absolute best there. If you want to compete for those college scholarships, national championships, things like that. There is for sure another level here in Florida. It's growing around the country for sure. You start seeing it and you're like, oh, wow. A kid from Missouri, kid that I got to work with at a clinic. He just won the 14 nationals and he's from Missouri. Like, cool. But he is quite clearly the best, you know, in his neighborhood. It's not a joke. He's playing at Men's Open in his area. And that's what it should be. For some of you, if you're kicking butt at the juniors level, you got to get out of the juniors and just start playing the opens if you want to see that level.
You absolutely do. I really suggest that. In fact, all of my elite players, I have one that's going to Stanford and one at FSU this year, going in for their plan before COVID hit, right? We won the junior national championship in Hermosa, the AVP at the stadium. It was really cool. We won that when they were 15 years old. And I was like, our plan from now on, qualify and get our bids where we need to, but we're only playing AVP, everything adult. We're playing all open level, everything, because that's how you're going to get better. That's how you're going to prepare for college now. But you know, like you were saying, it is, you know, regionally, there's certainly differences, but that gap is closing. I will tell you, you know, I was there in Hermosa for the whole month of July because we have almost all of the junior national championships there for the month. And we had just as many East Coast national champions than we did West Coast. So the tide is changing with that. Some of the top recruits in the country have come from North Carolina and Georgia. I mean, it's changing now. Like I don't even know if we got to it because we keep on losing focus of where we're going. But I do camps all over the country, juniors camps all over the country. I'm in Missouri. I was in Wisconsin last week. I'm all over the place, kind of in the mid-country. And there are some really, really talented players there. So the gap is changing, right? Yeah. The downside is they don't have the wind and the beach in their backyard. Right. So it's a lot harder for them when they can be really, really good in the Midwest. But once you get to Florida or California and you're dealing with wind for the first time, your coach can't teach wind if there's no wind. Right. We teach wind philosophy. right? And this is what you do when, but once you get in it, it's a whole different story, right?
Yeah.
So I am proud that that gap is changing and the game is growing so much because of you guys and because of people like me who are doing camps. Right?
Absolutely. That's a good opportunity to just take a quick break from a word from our one and only sponsor. Guys, if you don't know, with Better at Beach, we run camps and we run clinics. We run clinics around the country and we run camps currently in Florida, but we're always looking for new places. If you ever want us to run a camp or clinic in your area, you need to get in touch. The best way to do that are one-day clinics. And if you have a court that you can control legally, or you have a permit for it, or you know how to get that permit, or you know the manager of, let's say, like the local facility or establishment, then if you have that court and you know that you can get at least 12 players for a full day, our camps are $250 for the full day, and that means that you get 3 2.5-hour sessions, and we have no more than 12 players per coach, no more than 12 players per court, so we keep very small numbers. If you want us to come to your neighborhood, get that stuff set up, know where you want us to coach, know where you want that to happen, and then sign up on one of the forums on betteratbeach.com/clinics. And we would be thrilled to come and work with you, work with your club, you and 12 buddies. It's easy enough as that. So just go on to betteratbeach.com/clinics. And if you do want to come to a 7-day training camp, of course, betteratbeach.com/camps. We have 5 weeks from October until January, and we will be adding more in February, March, and April, and we would love to see you there. If you look at the links below, you can also get a free drill book, our 36 favorite drills for beach volleyball. You can just check out the links in the show notes and get some stuff so that you can start working on your own before we even get there. Let's go back to the show. Nicole, how does somebody sign up for one of your camps?
Oh,
I want to know. I want to help you grow.
Oh, that's awesome. So I do camps all over the country, and I just have them, people request, they're like, hey, can you come do a camp here? And I'm like, yep. So it sounds a lot like you.
Awesome.
The difference in what I do is I keep my athlete to coach ratio 1-6. I do a lot of slow-mo video and one-on-one video breakdowns with them. Basically, like I was in Wisconsin last week and they were like, all right, we've got these 6 girls that we want you to train. And they did the same thing. I'm like, get me a flight, give me a bed, make sure I have a court, make sure I have 20 balls, let's go, right? Nice. So mine are, it sounds like mine are a lot like yours. Mine run from 9 to 4:30 usually, but it's regardless, it's 8 hours of camp. So you get 16 hours of training in 2 days. To get a hold of me, you can look me up on Instagram. I'm Nicole Christner, CHRISTNER, or BB, like boy, the number 2, Nicole. Just get in touch with me and ask. I also do camps with other people, like as far as pros, Troy Field and I have done camps together all over the place, Florida and Texas. Currently, John Hyden and I are also doing camps together. We do a lot of them. We're setting up a boys camp. It'll be our first boys
awesome
14 to 18-year-old camp.
Where's that going to be?
Help that grow. That's going to be here in Georgia at my camps. I coach for S3. That's a club, beach only club in Georgia. And we've got 5 courts. So we're going to run our first boys, 14 to 18-year-old intermediate to advanced level boys training. I also coach for NTDP, which is the USA Volleyball National Training Development Program.
Okay.
So I'm a scout for them. I'm a national scout. So whenever I see really good boys talent, I write a report on them and I send it into USA Volleyball. And so I've just started with the boys. I'm on their permanent staff now. So I've just started doing the boys. So I've decided it's time for me to delve in and start working with boys. And who better to do it with than John Hyden? I mean, 2-time Olympian, 20 years playing pro beach, however many gazillions of wins. I mean, heck, he just got a 5th a few weeks ago. 49 years old, not bad. He knows a lot.
He knows a lot. I always love picking his brain. He's a shockingly awesome person. We see a lot of things very similarly, and you're kind of supposed to be, he's tough as a coach and a person, and he has high expectations of his players and of people in general. And in that way, we align in a big way, like high expectations from people and from players. I really have a ton of respect and have grown to actually like John as a friend, which is cool.
Well, me too. I mean, he's my work husband, so we fight like cats and dogs, but we're supposed to because he's my work husband. But yeah, when we were just out there in July, you guys were gracious enough to let us borrow everything we needed to run a camp. We ran a camp on your courts afterwards. Brandon and Dan took care of us, and we really, really appreciate that. We had a great, we ran a D1 college players only, so current girls that were playing college.
Oh, awesome.
On your 2 courts there at 2nd and 3rd. And we just had an amazing 4 days and can't thank you guys enough. That was a huge help for us.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah. John was like, don't worry, I'll just make the courts and balls appear. I'm just going to make it happen. I'm going to will it to happen. I'm like, John, not good enough for me. So anyway, thanks for out to you guys.
Yeah, that's easy. I mean, there's enough volleyballs living in the South Bay that
well, the courts and the lines and the antenna, those were going to be a challenge no matter what. So
yeah.
I really appreciate it. It was a great time down there. And I got to meet some of your other coaches who are also awesome. I got to talk a lot of volley dorkness with Brandon, because clearly it's my favorite thing to do.
Yep.
All of us were volleyball maniacs.
So guys, if you do want to set up a camper clinic with Nicole, and she's working with juniors, she's working with adults, she's doing a lot.
Anybody. Volleyball, I will teach you.
Check out the link in the show notes. We are linking her Instagram, and you can give me permission to do it or not, but I have your email listed there as well if people want to check it out and get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Love it.
Nice. What else do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about the BBWCA, just because
great.
We're really trying to. So me, pre-Lima, Piantadosi Lima, I always say,
yeah,
who was a pro on the AVP and the NVL for many, many years, and for Brazil in the FIVB.
I could still do it if she wanted to.
She can. I make her do it at some of her camps sometimes, and she's like, "Really? I'm not even warmed up." And then she
nice people.
So she's one of my partners, and Kaya Marciniak, who is Peter Marciniak's wife, and they both still play on the tour. She'll be at the MBO this weekend. We got together and we want to make sure that there's more females coaching females than just women in general in beach volleyball.
That was interesting when you said that. Do you think that there's a lacking of female beach volleyball coaches?
There's a giant lacking. Do you not think there's way more in California, because Barb's out there, and Holly and Anna and Megan, but in the rest of the country, it's basically pre-Kaya and I.
That's wild. I don't understand why, because you look at, well, yeah, I guess. Because if you look at a juniors tournament, it's just flooded. Teenage girls flooded. And then you have it in college. And then you look at any adult tournament, and it seems like there's always like less than 60% of the girls there, the girls and the women there, than there are men. It's like the men are the ones signing up for the adult tournaments, and we're always significantly outnumbering the women's side. And I didn't realize that was happening from the coaching standpoint as well. Why do you think that is?
Coaching standpoint's a big thing. So when we actually formed this BBWCA, the Beach Volleyball Women's Coaches Alliance, we realized it's a big problem. The number one problem is that we're the ones that create humans. So women have babies and then they go do the mothery nesty thing, right? So many of them don't stay in the sport. If they intended to coach, they don't stay in because they're raising a child, right? Or the play, right? We'd have, when I was still playing, we'd be like, "Oh, you're pregnant. That's awesome. See you in 2 years."
Dang, we just lost another good player.
Exactly. So it is, that's a thing, but actually I did a really cool thing when I was out there. There's so many women, as far as I'm concerned, right? Where I am, it's like me and a couple other female coaches, maybe, right? So when we were out there for nationals, we had all of the D1 coaches out there that were recruiting. And then we have Holly McPeak and Barbara Fontana and Anna Collier and Megan Bergdorf, just a bunch of women that are out there coaching in California. I'm totally jealous of that. So anyway, I had the first powerful women in beach volleyball get together. And I had 23 of the top women in volleyball. There were Olympians, there were D1 coaches, and then there was me, the juniors beach coach. But it was amazing. We had, Brooke, who's the head coach at FSU there, right? We had Summer, who's the assistant coach at Stanford. We had Katie, the assistant coach at LSU, you know what I mean? And Olympians. So we had a really good conversation about this and how do we get more women coaching, because it's women and we're being coached by men. And no offense to you men, love you men. Sometimes you men coach girls in a man's way. Sometimes women's bodies don't move the way a men's moves.
Right.
So it's a little different, right? Yeah. So anyway, we had a big talk about it. And a lot of the women in coaching thing is not only because we have the babies, not me personally, but I have 200 babies currently. and high school. And college. But because a lot of the times women kind of want a higher paying job, whereas young guys will kind of be like, oh, it's a coaching gig. Sure, I'll just move wherever and make whatever. And girls won't really do that. That's kind of what we deduced. So, and in coaching, you coach for the love of the game, right, Mark?
Yep.
We don't coach for the money because it's
there's
not
no bench and beach, and there's no money in beach. we gotta make a good what do you call it?
Yeah, there just isn't. So we think that because of those two issues, it's a problem, right? Guys, think about it. If you were not playing now and you were not married, right? Let's say you were 28, right? And an assistant coach at whatever college D1 school opened up, you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to step up the ladder. Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe not you.
I'm out on NCAA.
All right. I am too, but there's many, many people that would be like, hey, ultimately I want to be an NCAA coach. I'll take that step. I'll move across the country and make $27,000 a year, which is, by the way, what most of them make. So there's those problems. And we're trying to figure out ways to get more women into it, because so many women, even when you're coaching, when I'm coaching adults or juniors, they'll be like, oh my God, Nicole, I want to be a coach when I grew up too, so I can do what you do. I'm like, awesome. But then something happens along the way.
Yeah.
Right. So we want more women coaching women, and we want more female beach players, right? I mean, there's a lot, but if you go to BVB info, there's like 4,000 more men than there are women in there.
Yep.
So we just want to help grow the sport. I'm trying to grow the sport now with the boys too, but hey, I'm a girl, right? The girl's going and all parts of it.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. No, I definitely didn't. That's something that, that's opening my eyes, because I didn't realize, especially like on our podcast, we've had for sure more women coaches than guys. And all we do is reach out. We just have a list of NCAA coaches and we just go through it piece by piece. And
that's funny.
From our guest list, we wouldn't have known that.
That's really funny. So I can tell you that right now, 35% of coaches are female.
Oh, wow. Significant.
65% of men. I know this because I've been doing a lot of talks on this, and this is the 50th year anniversary of Title IX. So I've been hosting a bunch of talks lately about this. So that's a hard number. 35%.
Yep. That's a big difference.
Yeah. But you also have to have the love of the game, right? And be like addicted. And it's a sport. Probably guys get more addicted to sports than most women do.
The whole home building and family building, right or wrong, it's just kind of the way it happens. And guys just kind of get out there and do sports in their 20s and 30s and don't think about it. And I think you're right. A lot of women are more interested in like being the one who keeps the family in order and succeeding as well.
Listen, I hate to do this, but I have to go coach my boys right now.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I got another one coming up right after this. Nicole, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. We just like chatted on volleyball, like real natural conversation. So I appreciate you. Before you go, are there any websites? We know that your Instagram and your email are linked below. So that's where people can find you for camps and clinics and all levels, as well as you finding and spotlighting some future talent for USA Volleyball. But are there any other websites or things that people should check out? Or if somebody wants to become a coach, is there a way for them to find you in the Beach Volleyball Women's Association?
Yes, absolutely. So on the BVWCA, you can look that up on Instagram or Facebook, or go to bvwca.com, Beach Volleyball Women's Coaches Alliance.com. You can certainly get a hold of me and Pri and Kaya through that. We always invite out women to come and work with us and learn from us at our camps. So we love to have women fly out to wherever we're doing the camp and just stay with us and help learn and coach and plan and do everything it takes to learn how to be a better coach, ask us a million questions. I do have a lot of females that do call me or email me, and I help mentor them in the beach world and just becoming a coach and a mentor and, college recruitment or whatever it is. So in any way that you want to reach out to me, like Mark said, my email's there. Please direct mail me, email me, do whatever you want. But I'm always happy to help anybody in beach volleyball, because beach volleyball is my life.
Yeah. And it's a darn good life too. Yeah.
It is. I can't wait to see you guys playing the MBO this week. I'm flying out on Friday. I'm stoked. And
nice.
Hopefully you guys will be in Chicago too. Those are the two I get to go to, and not
nice.
The first time. Yay.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we'll see you both places.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Have a great day.
Bye, Nicole. You too.
Bye.
awesome interview there with Nicole. She has been in all different, like we said, all different facets of the game, from club to national team stuff, national development stuff. And she's got a ton of experience and quick and easy to talk to about all of her experience and her knowledge of the game. So that was absolutely fantastic conversation. Like I said, if you are interested in, getting another clinic set up, you can bring us out, you can bring Nicole out. All of those links are below. And we really, really do have a passion for growing the sport. So all those links you can find below. And even if you're not sure yet, but there's a chance you might want to bring a clinic to your area, your facility, your hometown, the restaurant in your town that has 2 courts, get in touch. It's that easy, and we'll start working on it with you. As a reminder, our online program, our complete player program, is firing. So if you want your game taken to another level, if you join the complete player program, you get our full 21-day athletic foundations program, which is an athletic challenge, a fitness challenge. You get our 60-day max vertical program, which is averaging about 4.5, 5 inches of vertical increase for people who finish the program. It is a volleyball designed fitness program. So there is no wasting time. There's no wasting exercises. There are no wrong exercises. Everything there is specific to volleyball players, vertical jump, agility, and a bit of conditioning. You can find that at the link below on its own. You can take that, or if you join the complete player program, you get that and every one of our skill and strategy courses, and we coach you for the entire year. So that means that you will be filming your workouts. You'll be filming the drill homework that we give you, and we give you drill homework that you can do in front of your garage, out in the street, in front of your house, or on a court. We tell you how to do it both ways. You record it, you post it on our private Facebook group, and then we go there and we jump in and we actually coach your game. So for any of you who are looking to upgrade your skills and strategy and learn from AVP pros, this is your chance. It's your chance to take your game and wonder, what would an AVP player think of it? What corrections would they make? How far am I from the top level, or just what's going wrong? Join the complete player program. It's right there. Go to betteratbeach.com/coaching. Links are also included below. Guys, I appreciate your time. Anytime you want to reach out, if you have ideas, if you maybe think that you should be a guest on the show, make it easy on us so we don't have to hunt everybody down. And if you ever think that you want to coach for us, we have online coaching opportunities. We are growing and kind of growing fast, and we need great people who are excellent coaches. So if you think that you have a skill set that would work for online or e-commerce or SEO businesses, or you just are a great editor or social media, or you're a project manager, I don't know. If you want to work in beach volleyball and you think you're the bee's knees, get in touch and let's have a conversation. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. My name is Mark Burik. This is Better at Beach. We'll see you on the sand.